What we are looking at is that when we look at us in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, but also what we have agreed is that we will also look at the different countries that we could jointly go into. Say somebody, Ethiopia is still not open. We'd like to look at Ethiopia when it opens up. We also should look at DRC, which is now becoming a very important emerging market for insurance. So besides that, what we would like to do is that in Uganda, we only have a general insurance operation. So we'll look at Uganda to see if we can start a life company in Uganda. And in Tanzania, we are a minority in the existing, so Reliance is an associate for us. We would like to see how we can enhance. In Tanzania, we can have a majority shareholding, which the reason for a majority shareholding is important, is that so you can bring the same solutions and same synergies into that company. So we'd like to actually do the same by making sure that we are able to increase our shareholding and commitment into Tanzania. Some of the expertise we already started working together. The first one, the first one we launched about 3 weeks ago was the international health cover, which is the APA Hollard health cover. Now we will be using that. We'll be competing both with all the all the health players like Bupa, others will be providing better and cheaper covers to the people who require international health covers with large values. So we can insure up to $10 million for any individual for covers anywhere in the world. So compared, that is one area, the international health covers. The other expertise we will be looking at is that they are bringing in, they have a very good, strong insurance book for motor in South Africa, which is very profitable. In East Africa, in Kenya, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, motor is a loss-making business. So we will be using their learnings in South Africa to see how we can, change by bringing in some different ideas, different ways of doing our motor insurance business. We'll be able to then actually make it profitable for us. The other area that, APA Life is one of the largest and fastest growing life insurance companies. So they are very strong in life insurance in all the countries they are operating in, and they've got very good distribution network. So we would be using their learnings of distribution network for life and also the growth. So what would happen is that we want to grow our individual life, so we'll be making sure that the support they give us on the individual life will help us grow to become much bigger in individual life. We are already fairly large in group life and pensions, but with those we will also grow. Right now, the three partners are good enough for us. But when opportunities do come, and if it's the right partnership that can be created, we will obviously look at that. Because what happens is that for us, there are two types of growth that we have. One is the organic growth, and the other one is that you grow by mergers and acquisitions. So we will be looking, one area that we'll be seriously looking at is, are there opportunities to merge and acquire within the region that we are? Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, to see if we can do more mergers and acquisitions so that we can grow even the businesses much faster through mergers and acquisition. What we are basically also doing is that we want to make sure that one of the areas that which is very important is our people. And what we have a very good team that APA Apollo has in Kenya, Uganda. We would like to see how we can grow our people. There are areas that we can learn from Hollard and also from Swiss Re. We have good support on the management area, but at the same time we also want to see how we can instill much more stronger relationship amongst our staff to make them, they are good, they're better, but even make them better still. So that what would happen is that they see that we are able to help them grow individually too. So people is very, very important. The growth of the people will become part of the agenda, which can be enhanced beyond what we are doing now. Well, on the basis of our arrangement, Hollard will have one secondee, which will be joining our management. So that secondee is going to join. But at the same time, what we'll be looking at is we'll be looking at Hollard whenever we see that there is a need for a specific expertise. We'll be looking at Hollard to see if they can provide us that specific expertise to join us. But at the same time, what we'll be looking at is that we might have regular exchange of staff between Hollard and APA. So there could be staff who could go to South Africa and work in some of the companies, in Hollard's associated companies. But at the same time, we could perhaps, when we need training for a larger number of our staff, and Hollard has got that expertise, then we'll ask them to send that person here so that we can train at a much better value for money, in the sense that one of them coming here and training 20 of ours is much cheaper to us than sending 20 people down south. One thing is that AP has always been about partnerships, and not only shareholding or other partnerships, but we've done many partnerships in different areas. We also have a partnership with IFC for women insurance, which we want to grow. But we also have, we ourselves have created the agriculture partnership, where we have brought 7 companies together to insure smallholder farmers. Now, partnerships are important, and we would like to make sure that we can actually expand on the partnerships. Maybe they don't have to be shareholders, but through them we can work together to grow the areas that we can serve. Because there's one area that I think we are trying to look at is the protection gap. Is to reduce the protection, the protection gap that is there, and that's why we are in microinsurance. So there are certain specific areas where on microinsurance we will also be growing our partnerships. Microinsurance is very, very important. We have started some work on agriculture insurance. We are doing extremely well for smallholder farmers and pastoralists. We wanted to go into dairy, but there is one area that we are working right now is MSME. Hollard has got SMM, they call it SMME, we call it MSME. Now we want to see if we can increase our partnership in the MSME area, because if you seriously look at MSMEs that are in Kenya, a lot of them are single persons, and a vast majority of them are women. So we want to see how we can grow that area.
Maybe let me start by talking about why we wanted to invest in Kenya, and then I will talk about why APA. So Hollard is a company that started in South Africa about 44 years ago. We've expanded into 6 other countries across the continent. We are in Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, Mozambique, Lesotho, and in Ghana. and we do both general insurance and life insurance business in all of those countries. For us, becoming a Pan-African insurer was something that was very important, and I think you can't call yourself a Pan-African insurer if you don't have a presence in Kenya particularly, but also in East Africa in general. We see East Africa as the fastest growing economies on the African continent. There are about 200 million or more people in East Africa, so we see a huge opportunity, and definitely we wanted to be part of that. We have wanted to get into Kenya for about 14 years, and we have tried discussions with various parties, but they never materialized into something useful. When we met Ashok and APA just before COVID in 2020, we immediately realized that APA was the right partner for us, and that was for a couple of reasons. One is both APA and Hollard are family-owned businesses, and I think with that comes a certain way of doing business. I think that was the first and the most important. Secondly, I think if you look at the APA purpose, they talk about ensuring happiness, and Hollard's purpose is about enabling people to create and secure a better future. So again, lots of similarities there. And in terms of our values and how we approach people and how we put people first and customers first, we really felt that there were a lot of commonalities in terms of how we do business. So for us, aside from the fact that APA is the largest general insurer, I think there were a lot of commonalities which were important to us. So I think exactly for those reasons, because we shared so much in common in terms of our purpose, in terms of our values. It's obviously a very successful insurer, and I think there was a meeting of minds between us and Ashok and his team, so we really felt that this was the right platform for us to invest in Kenya, and then particularly potentially into East Africa and beyond. So for us, any insurance investment that we do in Kenya or in East Africa will be together with APA. We see APA as the platform which we have invested in, and any further investments in this region will be done through APA and not separately. So I think we have, over the last 44 years that we have been operational, we have learned a lot, and I know that all of that is not necessarily transferable directly to other markets, but I think the experience that we have in the countries, the 6 or 7 countries that I've mentioned before, in corporate and commercial insurance, in life insurance, but particularly in some of the specialist lines of insurance which are becoming more and more important in the current environment, we think we've got some expertise that we are willing to share. One of them is cyber insurance, another is renewables-based insurance, another is engineering, marine. I think in all of these areas we have expertise which we think we can share with APA. I think Ashok talked about earlier the fact that we also have a capability in terms of offering international health insurance to companies and to senior executives in those companies, and I think that was launched together with APA a few weeks ago. We think that that will be a winner in this market because I think APA is the first Kenyan company to offer that kind of cover in the Kenyan market, and we can take that out to East Africa as well. So those are some of the areas in which we really believe that we can add some value. So I think for us, getting a stake that was significant was something that was important. I think so we had lots of discussions with Ashok and APA about how we get to 20%. And I think what's really important for us is that even though we are a minority shareholder in APA, Ashok and the team really treat us as equals and equal partners, and I think a lot of the decisions that we made obviously is management, but I think shareholders, all 3 shareholders in APA, Swiss Re and Hollard are involved in those decisions that we make. So I think Kenya has done a lot of things right in terms of the insurance market, and I think in terms of offering insurance solutions to Kenyans and East Africans. And I think some of the areas where they have done particularly well is in terms of offering insurance to the uninsured, particularly in places like agriculture for smallholder farmers. We've got a lot of it. That's an area which is really important to us as Hollard as well. We have a focus in terms of offering microinsurance through mobile networks, and I think that's something that could be very relevant in the Kenyan environment, where I think you do a lot of your financial transactions on a mobile phone. So that's something that I think could be very valuable. We also have capabilities in terms of agriculture insurance, which we have developed in Mozambique and in Zambia. And then I think Ashok talked about SMMEs. I think in Kenya, but also in lots of other markets like Ghana, like Zambia on the continent, small informal businesses play a huge role in these economies, and they will be a significant part of the growth that's created in these economies going forward. So really finding creative ways about how to help SMMEs manage the risks that they face on a day-to-day basis is something that I think is really important. So if someone who's running a small shop in a market, if that shop goes up in flames and burns down, those families and that business doesn't really have ability to build that business back up, because now they have lost everything that they owned. If we're able to offer bundled insurance products that takes care of insuring that business, insuring the business person, helping insure the family, and if we can do that in a very accessible way through a mobile phone at an affordable premium, I think that's something that could add significant value to Kenyans and East Africans. So I think those are areas in which we would like to work together with APA and with Swiss Re to bring some of these solutions to the market. Yeah. So I think two things. One is life insurance. So I think in South Africa, life insurance penetration is very, very high. And we know that some of the dynamics might be different. But life insurance penetration in quite a few of our markets is probably higher than it is in Kenya. So really understanding the reasons for people in Kenya not to take up life insurance and prefer to take up things like savings and endowment kind of policies, and understanding those cultural nuances and the beliefs that Kenyans might have, and really understanding how we can bridge some of those gaps. Because the reality is that if a breadwinner passes away in any family, whether that's in Kenya or whether that's in Ghana or whether that's in Namibia, that family, will struggle to make sure that they can maintain that same standard of living going forward. So really thinking about how we bring solutions to that have worked in other places, tailored to the Kenyan market, is something that I think we can definitely look at. I think the other thing is climate-related insurance. I think climate change is something that we are going to face, whether we like it or not, across all of the markets in Africa. I think recently Kenya went from having serious droughts to having serious floods, right? And those are all, in our mind, results of climate change. So really thinking about how we help all of the countries that we operate in Kenya, but also in East Africa, to become, to really develop the expertise to ensure renewables projects, whether they are solar, wind, or hydro. And I'm aware of the fact that I think in Lake Turkana you have one of the largest wind farms on the African continent, but really developing that expertise, because we have that expertise in markets like South Africa and with our shareholder Tokyo Marine as well. If we're able to put all of those together and really help drive the green revolution across Kenya, East Africa, and the African continent, I think that would be a huge win for all of us. So I think for us, this is an absolutely momentous occasion. As I said, we've been trying to get into Kenya and East Africa for a long time. We're truly grateful to the Shah family, to APA, to Swiss Re, for welcoming us into this family. And I think collectively we will really be able to build a stronger, more resilient business that's really able to offer value for money solutions to Kenyans and to East Africans for decades to come.